November 5th, and now I'm 30, riding down life's highway with my friends at my side. My life without them wouldn't be complete. They are my joy and pride. I've learned a lot from all my good friends about turning 30. I'm the last to reach that stop. We're gonna party till we just can't party no more. We're big on carpool, Judy's Lever, Bible study, Cheesecake Factory.
Everything about that slaps me across the face. If I had billions of dollars the way they do, I would spend $1 billion of that scrubbing that foolishness from the internet. Hello, how are you? Welcome to my channel. My name is Cheer Denise. We have so many things to talk about. The first thing I'm going to talk about is something I completely neglected to discuss on Friday when it came to Meghan Markle's podcast that she did, her recent interview that she did. I was so consumed by the fact that she was so totally and completely condescending to the host of that podcast. And everything that the host said to her, she acted like she just couldn't connect with what that meant. What are you talking about? There were so many instances of it, and we talked about it on Friday. Predominantly the one being when Emma says, I made some mistakes in investing with others. And Meghan's response is, oh, did you? Interesting. I mean, it is not an exaggeration to say I have never seen someone less interested in someone sharing their side of the conversation. Every single time somebody else is talking, Meghan immediately assumes this, I'm so bored. When are you going to stop talking? Oh, God, this is so lame. Every single time. And it's like, Meghan, are you unfamiliar with the way conversation works? It's a give and take. It's they say something and you respond to that. It's not you blinking your eyes rapidly, waiting for them to finally shut the hell up. She's the worst. But anyway, I was so busy talking about other things that I forgot to talk about the fact, and this is what's making the rounds, but we have to talk about it because it's so consistently a point about Meghan that we discuss on this channel. Meghan discussed at the end of that interview that she's no longer doing any more episodes for Confessions of a Female Founder.
And you've decided I'm going to stop and focus on the business.
Have to.
Nice.
Have to, because at a certain point, I was thinking about this morning.
You're like, this is too much.
Well,
that's what I was thinking this morning.
People seem to forget that very rarely do people see everything that's happening behind the scenes. I could show a small glimpse of that. But equally, yes, I wrapped season 1 of my Netflix series. Still had to promote it. Still had to be in the edits for season 2. We were in pre-production of one season while we were doing post-production of the other. It's constant. I just wrapped edits on season 2 of With Love, Meghan last week. So it's still ongoing while also doing a podcast, while also building my business. And at a certain point, the only thing I want spread thin is my jam. Okay?
She acts like we're all desperately saddened by this news. She's like, I know, everyone wants me to keep doing more. I know, but I'm just so busy. And it's like, welcome to adulthood. Again, when you grow up, you have a ton of things to do. But let me clue you in on something. The rest of us don't have somebody taking care of our house, don't have someone taking care of our kids, don't have somebody taking care of the gardens, don't have a whole staff of people to help them in all of their endeavors. You're over there acting like you're making the podcast yourself, editing the podcast yourself, uploading the podcast yourself. You act like you're over there filming this Netflix series yourself, you and Harry with an iPhone. You act like you're over there putting your kids to bed, waking them up in the morning, cooking them 3 meals a day. You act like you're out there slaving on that huge expanse of land you have in Montecito all by yourself and your little hoe. I mean, what in the world are you talking about? You're out there just on your knees, weeding and clipping hedges and picking fruits and vegetables. You're trying to make me believe you don't have a staff of people keeping those grounds the way they look? Get out of town, you liar. Staff. Even in this interview, she's talking about her little team of people that surround her and help her make business decisions. And then she's got her people over at Netflix, and then she's got her people at Lemonada. I want to ask you this much right now. How many of you would feel that you were just unbelievably burdened by having to have an hour conversation with somebody and then handing that footage over to somebody else and they edit it and produce it and take care of it and upload it and make sure it gets out everywhere it's supposed to go? Would that be so hard for you if you had someone taking care of your house, your kids, your grounds, and all of your errands? Somebody who was making sure your life ran like clockwork, but you can't sit down and have an hour conversation with people. It's just too hard. I want to know what she thinks the rest of us are doing with our time. I know that she wants to say, well, I've got my Netflix show and I've got As Ever and I'm worried about the branding there. And I've got, then this podcast was just, I was just being spread too thin and I only want my jam spread that thin, or whatever her stupid line was. By the way, I don't want my jam spread thin. I like my jam heaped up on the bread. So I don't even know what kind of analogy that was. She just loves to play with words and she's so rarely successful in the attempt. But she says she only wants her jam spread that thin. And, she had to look at what she could cut away. And what she could cut away was the Female Founder podcast. So it had to go the way. But Meghan, is it because you ran out of things to say because you're so in the infancy of this female founding project that really what could you offer and why were you trying to offer us anything? But see, that's the thing. Why were you trying to inject yourself into these conversations? You know next to nothing about what it is to create a successful brand. You just showed up on the scene 5 seconds ago. But you want to make a whole podcast about this journey that you're going on. See, that's why you feel like you've run out of steam. Because it was always about you instead of about the guests that you were having on. You could never run out of steam if you were letting other people talk and tell their stories. You would have years and years worth of content up ahead for you if you had made it about the people who came onto your podcast. But see, no wonder you're tired. I'd be exhausted too. 10 episodes talking about something that you don't know anything about because you just dipped your toe into the water is 10 episodes too long for anyone. If she had just been honest and said, I bit off more than I can chew on a topic that I'm still learning so much about. But see, even that needn't have been, because all she had to do, as I said, was make the show about the people who do have experience. But we have had this conversation many a time on this channel. She can't talk to people. She is flabbergasted about the give and take within a conversation. She doesn't know how to do it. And if you don't know how to do that, how are you going to have a whole series in which the sole objective is you interviewing people to some purpose? She can't do it. She's the worst interviewer of all time. Every single time. And I mean, you guys, I stopped listening to it like 2 episodes in. I had great and mighty ambition of reviewing all of them for you. And I just thought to myself, no, I don't need it. You don't need it. We don't need this garbage in our life. It wasn't even entertaining enough for me to have put myself in front of the firing squad. Meghan's TV show is entertaining enough that I feel like when season 2 comes out, we'll review it. But this podcast business was egregious. It was so boring to listen to. At least with Meghan's TV show, there was something to look at, right? It was pretty to look at. And I feel like I was able to get through the moments because it looked nice. The conversation was drivel, the guests were dumb, but at least it was pretty. There was nothing bringing me back to the podcast. But I also love the fact that she tries to describe her lack of ambition here as some kind of a positive, that that she knows how to organize her life, and she's not just out there just grubbing for every cent and dollar she can get. She has a little pride, and she never would just do something just for the money. I mean, who would do that? That's so grody. And Emma asks her, isn't there anything you would ever just do because the money's good? I mean, it doesn't, is it always driven by your ethics or your need to make a positive difference in this world? Or do you ever just see an opportunity as perfectly fine and also it will make you money? Meghan's like, that's like a foreign concept. I'm sorry. I don't know what it's like to live with the absence of morals. So I can't answer your question there. No, I don't know. So Meghan wants us to believe that the reason she cut out this podcast was because she just needed to make sure she was protecting those ventures in her life that were the most important. And that would be like being a mom and As Ever, her other little baby, and, her Netflix show. And that's just what's really important right now. So, you have to remember that, the Netflix thing is like such a huge burden, and she's acting like the Netflix show has just been filmed and that she's over there in the editing room and she's doing all this stuff. And it's just so much on her time that she can't manage this podcast. But she's got an enormous amount of people involved in the show. And still she has to be so involved that she can't sit down and talk for an hour to somebody and then hand that footage off to somebody else to be dealt with. I'm wondering how she uses her time on a day-to-day basis. The regular human person would not have this much difficulty managing it all if you had this much staff. And I just want to know, for Meghan, who says that, you know, she's not cutting out this podcast for any other reason than the fact that the things that are most important to her have to remain at the top of her priority list. But it certainly isn't because of a dollar and cents thing. No. I'm like, Meghan, you lie. Nobody was able to consistently listen to you, even the people who make a living out of laughing at the foolishness that you do. And I'm talking about people who like are much more aggressive towards going after Meghan than I am. I talk about Meghan because people think it's interesting, but I don't think that I sit around and hate on her. Regardless of some of the things that people say in the comments, I always know that those people didn't really listen. Because I have always given Meghan credit where credit's due. I've always been complimentary where I could be, but I also just call the shots the way they are. But even people who aggressively hate her and are fine hating her and making, you know, a living on Twitter and all these places with handles that are dedicated to the hate of Meghan, so that you know this is a place where you can go to marinate and hate for Meghan. Even those people could not manage to listen to all of the podcasts that Meghan put out. And so there's nobody here who's listening to it. Not the people who love it because there was nothing to love, but even the people who hate listened couldn't get through it. Meghan, you are not doing the podcast anymore because nobody's listening to it. There was nothing monetarily gainful in continuing with that podcast. So she can sit here and she can tell Emma all she wants. I only work on things that are in line with my moral code, with my values, with my virtues. And that's what drives me. But see, if that were true, she would still be doing this because she wanted to create a platform where female founders could go for tons of inspiration and information about what this looks like, encouragement about what the journey is like. And I am telling you right now, if that was really her motivation, she'd keep doing it, because whether people are watching or not, if she's worried about that one person who can get something out of it, like she always says, like, I'm not worried about the masses. I just want to reach that one person. I just want to be really intentional for those women who could get something out of this. She acts like she cares so much about all these little individuals who are gaining something from it, but no. And also, that isn't dollars and cents. Like that doesn't make sense to commit resources so that like one or two people will listen to it if you really do have all these other projects going. But then say that. Just be honest. It's not a popular podcast. So if it's not a popular podcast, I got to move on. She'd never say that, and nobody ever says these things. But what a beautiful world it would be if all the celebrities stopped worrying about their little canned responses and their canned answers to things and just spoke the truth. It's interesting that no PR person has ever suggested that a person just tell the truth. It's always, let me give you some super prepared speech that everyone knows is a lie, but everyone's just kind of going to give you a pass. Well, see, that's our problem. We need to stop giving the PR canned responses a pass. Meghan should just say, the podcast isn't doing well, so I'm not going to keep going with it. We already know it isn't, because we know no one's listening to it. You're not telling us something we don't know, but what you are doing is being honest about it, and then that immediately, at least for me, creates buy-in. If I were Meghan, I would feel like this. Everyone already hates me, and I'm so busy trying to manage everyone's thoughts about me, but not succeeding in managing to quit the hatred for me. Maybe I'll just start being an honest person, and then if they hate me or not, whatever, at least I know I told the truth. At least I know that I was my real, true, authentic self. They're going to hate me anyway. So just be me, and who cares? At this point, Meghan, you can't do anything to fix people's opinion of you. So just go be you then. The haters will always exist, regardless of what you do, but at least you'll have the freedom of being who you are and telling the truth. And, you know, by the way, this is the last thing I'll say about Meghan. How gross was it in the conversation with Emma when Emma said, what would you do to fix the narrative about you? If you could change anything at the beginning, what would you do to change the narrative about you? And Meghan says, I would tell everyone else to tell the truth.
I wonder if you could rewrite your public narrative from scratch. Is there anything that you would do differently?
Yes, I would ask people to tell the truth.
There wasn't not one thing she could have done differently. It was basically, I'd make everybody else be better people. I would make sure that other people were held to a higher standard. If I had one mistake, it was that I didn't ask everybody to be the best version of themselves that they could have been. Everybody else is the reason that I failed. It has nothing to do with me, but everybody else. But I mean, it's like with that attitude, how could anybody expect her to ever grow if she's looking back at the catastrophe that the last 7 to 8 years have been for her, and her response is, well, this all fell short because of others. Well, then the rest of your life is going to be a hellhole because others can't change, but you could. So if it's always going to be everybody else is the reason for my failure, I mean, I would just honestly just take myself out, because what help do I have in life if my whole life will just be a trajectory of failure because everyone else is going to sin against me all day long, every minute, and I can't get my head above water because of everybody else. What a horrible way to look at the world. I can't imagine functioning in a world in which my belief was there's nothing I can do. I will just always be attacked, sinned against, and the narrative of my life will always be driven by somebody else. What's the point of living? All right, well, let's talk about somebody who has not had a problem living their best life, but they do have a problem remembering the names of the children that they have born because they've been so busy living their best life. Nick Cannon is not worried about somebody else writing his narrative. He's out there living to the fullest. Okay. I don't know anybody who takes Nick Cannon seriously. I really don't. He takes himself incredibly seriously. I'm just not sure where he got this idea that he is some kind of a king, some kind of a god. He has 12 children, all different mamas. And he was on a podcast recently. And this podcast host is always really funny to me because she's super deadpan about everything. And she just kind of can hardly take it in what people are saying. But she nothing really riles her up. I don't even know who this podcast host is. I just recognized her from this clip that I've seen in which she's interviewing somebody, and this person she's interviewing does not understand what she, the host, is saying. So the host says, you're a musician? And the guest on the podcast is so woefully ignorant. She thinks that she's being called a magician, and she's really offended by it. You guys remember this clip?
I didn't know that about you.
What do you know?
That you're a musician. But that's why I'm interviewing you today, so I can get to know you.
So I'm a musician. Mm-hmm. What the I mean, make magic or something? What is musician?
I think you're confusing that.
Yeah, I'm not no musician. I make music. I make music. And that's not all I do. I make music, I act. I'm a TV star too, a young mogul.
Just really quick, I think you're confusing.
I'm not confusing nothing because you don't know. You thought that all I was a magician or whatever the said.
See, that's what I think you think I said. No, I said musician, not magician.
I don't think, baby, I don't think. What is that? That's ghetto. I don't think. I know.
So you
think.
I didn't say magician, Suki. I said musician. And I think you are a musician.
No, baby, I do music.
So you, just really quick, for the record, could you say you don't think you're a musician?
I'm not none of that.
But then after that, you just said I do music.
Yeah, I do music.
So, in other words, you're a musician.
No, I'm not.
It'll never stop being funny to me. Okay, but it's that same girl who's interviewing Nick Cannon. And I apologize for not going and looking up her name first. I know that's rude. But anyway, props to her in all ways. So she's asking Nick about why does he have so many kids? And he's like, because I always thought of myself as a king. I am a king. And she's like, what's that got to do with all your kids? And he's like, a king has many kids. And I'm like, do you mean like a tribal leader? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what kind of a king? But anyway, according to him, a king has tons of kids by tons of mamas. Okay, well, she goes on to be like, okay, well, so you've got like 12 kids. Do you know all their names? And he already knows he's in trouble. And then he goes on to try to list the kids' names. Can't do it.
Why do you have so many kids?
Why do I have so many kids? I have a king complex.
You have a what?
A king complex. I was like, as black men, we always be like, what's up, king?
Okay.
I'm a king. I really think I'm a king.
So you need to have, do kings have a lot of kids?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? That's how they court. They
have
enlarge
all
their
of them?
territory. That's why.
What are their names?
Oh, you want all 12?
12 names. Go.
All right. This is where I usually get in trouble.
Why? Because you don't know all of them.
I know all of them, but
Okay.
like, all right, well, here we go. I'll label off for you. See, let's keep me honest. There's rock, roll, golden, powerful, rise, onyx, legendary, Zion, zillion, zen, and see, this is where how many?
You're missing 2.
I'm missing 2.
Now, admittedly, 12 kids is a lot. And sometimes, like when I think back to like different classrooms of kids I've had, and if I was like trying to write everybody's names down, I can, and I didn't have huge classrooms. I like the biggest group of kids I ever had was 19 kids. And writing down everybody's names, there would always be one kid that would slip out of my mind. So on the one hand, I want to be like, well, I mean, you don't live with all these kids. They're all from different moms. Like the scenario is not one in which I'm struggling to believe he can't remember. I understand why he can't, because he's not set up his life to remember his kids' names. So it's like, well, if you're not an active dad, I can understand why you don't know their kids' names. But like, that's the sadness of it. You would have all these kids because you want to be a king, but then you wouldn't think, I should set up my life so that I know the kids. I think he like showed up, named the kids some outlandish name, because what in the world were those names? Although, do I have a leg to stand on with the name Cheer? No. But he had some wild names for those kids.
There's rock, roll, golden, powerful, rise, onyx, legendary, Zion, zillion, zen.
Okay, but I feel like that's where he began and ended his care and concern for this horde of children who are part of his tribe so that he can be a king. Imagine having kids so that you could feel like you were some kind of tribal royalty. Imagine their existence was created to continue to prop up this false narrative you have about yourself in which you are the best. But literally no one in the world thinks Nick Cannon is the best. Nobody is like, man, you know who I wish I could be? Nick Cannon. Nobody has ever looked at him and been like, I envy everything he's got. No one's ever looked at him and be like, man, that guy's just slaying it when it comes to business and investment. And like, nobody looks at him as some alpha male. But he's going to go have himself a whole heap of kids who he can't remember, but it's because he's a king. All right. More power to you. Let's talk about somebody else who did not feel that she needed to go have a bunch of kids because she was afraid of what would happen if she had more. Okay. I'm really confused about this whole story because I feel like people are purposefully misunderstanding what Michelle Obama was saying. And you guys know that I don't have any problem criticizing the things she says on her whack podcast, because if ever there was a person who should never have been allowed to have a podcast, it's her, because what she's doing is just grinding her reputation into the ground with every time she opens her mouth, because she has some crazy takes on things. Anyway, they were asking her about her kids, and they were asking, did you ever wish that you'd had a boy? And she says, no. Can you imagine if I'd had a boy? It would have been a little Barack Obama. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, she hates that man so much. Well, we know she does hate him. I mean, she's literally been on her podcast before saying that she and her daughter's favorite pastime is just to mock and make fun of him at home. He's not allowed to do that to her because she's super offended if he does. And this is like, she's like being 100% serious. She's not even joking. She's like, he is not allowed to make fun of me. I've made that very clear to him, but I make fun of him all the time, and so do the girls. Like, it's our favorite thing to do, is to like make fun of dad. Like, wow, that sounds like a real healthy home.
See, we have a deal, Barack and I, in our marriage, and it started very early. It's like, I can tease you, but you cannot tease me. So when he does, I was like, oh, wait a minute. What's going on here? And he's like, I'm teasing you, right? And I was like, none of that.
Because he likes to tease.
Oh, my God, yeah. But when me, Malia, and Sasha all of us are together, he doesn't stand a chance. We mercilessly go after him.
I wonder if he got gray hair from the White House or from you. But she goes on to say, yeah, I wouldn't want to have a baby Barack Obama. Like, no, absolutely not. But see, because she's been so negative about him, people assume that what she's saying is, ooh, gross, yuck. I hate that guy, and the last thing I want is like little mini me running around. But I don't think that's what she's saying. I feel like what she was saying, what she meant, was that he would be so burdened by his dad's reputation that he would, like, can you imagine how that would be for that kid, having to live up to that? That's the way I took it. And if ever there was a cynical person just waiting for her to make another crazy statement so I could use it for this show, I love it when she says crazy things. It's hilarious. But if she didn't really mean it that way, and the way I hear it, that's not what I hear. I'm just like, okay, at a certain point, we need to be honest about what we're listening to. We don't need to like make up crazy things for the crazy people. They're giving us plenty. We don't need to be these disingenuous listeners who are purposefully misunderstanding what people are saying so we can be like, oh, they're crazy. They are. You have 1,000 examples over here. You don't need to use that example as some kind of reason why they're crazy when clearly that's not what they were saying. But I don't know. You guys listen to it. What do you guys think?
Boy in the mix.
I'm so glad I didn't have a boy.
Yeah.
Because he would have been a Barack Obama.
Baby Barack. It would have been amazing.
No, I would have felt for him.
She just borrowed our boys.
Yeah. So it's like, it's not that I can't understand where people got off in their opinion of what she said, especially given the way she talks about him. But I just think in this context, probably what she was talking about and what I feel like she's saying is that child would have it so hard having to live up to his reputation. I don't think that she would have said that. She says a lot of crazy things, so maybe, but anyway, speaking of crazy, speaking of somebody who's been crazy for a very, very long time and gives us so much to discuss. Obviously the Kardashians. But you guys, this video came across my feed recently. I am floored. I've never seen this. And when I tell you that my jaw hit the ground, I am reading the book about the Kardashians. And right now, I'm still at the very beginning of the book. It is heavy on what is going on with Kris Kardashian. That woman was nuts from day one. And just, a gold digger, big old hoe. I'm sorry to be so blunt, but that girl was looking for it wherever she could get it, with whoever she could get it, and whatever terms she could get it. The fact that her daughters have turned out the way they have, the fact that she was out there hawking Kim's sex tape, not surprised at all when you find out where she came from, and also who her mom was to her. She is so shallow. And I remember telling you guys when I began reading this book, it's like, I don't know if I want to read it to you guys because like the tone is just like so offended by everything they do and annoyed by everything they do. And I'm like, I just don't know if he's giving us the most unbiased example of writing. And then I saw this video and I thought to myself, I understand now why he is so scathing about her materialism and her stupidity and her vapid behavior. This is a little video that she made to celebrate her 30th birthday, and you guys, I've never seen it. My apologies if this is old news to you. This is the first time I've ever seen it. I sent it to my younger sister, Crystal. We were both like, what in the world possessed her? Like, literally, what possessed her? How did this get out of her hands? And this should have been the closest kept secret of all time. I don't know if they put this on the Kardashian show. I don't even know how this video came about. You guys, this is a song that she had written, and she made a music video about her 30th birthday. Kris, I think, is like 60 years old now, so this was 30 years ago, all right? How could you be so lame for so long, I ask you? Here we go.
November 5th, and now I'm 30, riding down my highway with my friends at my side. My life without them wouldn't be complete. They are my joy and pride. I've learned a lot from all my good friends about turning 30. I'm the last to reach that stop. We're gonna party till we just can't party no more. We're big on carpool, Judy Cleaver, Bible study, Cheesecake Factory, Talarico, Auntie Barbara's, Joyce's parties, lots of tennis, baby showers, birthday parties, Valentino, church on Sundays, everybody very happy, 'cause the girls are shining all the time. Looks like another fun-filled day. I love my friends.
Everything about that slaps me across the face. The vocals, the cheesiness, the lameness. I'm telling you this much right now. If I had billions of dollars the way they do, I would spend $1 billion of that scrubbing that foolishness from the internet. I would spend any amount of money necessary so that nobody knew that that had ever been something that I did. Bible studies, Cheesecake Factory, birthday parties, friends. I mean, like her turning around to sing to you in her convertible. I mean, oh my gosh. It's so humiliating. Who like gave her that song? Who wrote that song for her? Who produced that for her? Who edited that for her? I mean, was it her greatest enemy? Was this secretly somebody looking to take her down? I can't even. Tell me if you've seen that before. I'm sorry if this is like old and this has been going around for ages. I'm sure that it has. I can't believe that as much time as I spend looking for things to talk to you guys about, this has never come across my screen. But I don't know, maybe it was the Lord just trying to preserve me. Okay, last thing I want to talk to you guys about. Another little tidbit that we just didn't get to. Obviously the Beckhams are having real problems. I want to ask you guys this much right now. How many of you people have ever cared what in the world went on with the Beckhams kids before this? I feel like every single time I'm scrolling for content, all I get all day long is the Beckham drama, but nobody has anything new to say about it. And I'm like, who's consuming this? I mean, I know I'm talking about it, but I'm talking about it as a reflection of the fact that I keep seeing it. So I'm like, is this a story people want? I just don't understand. Like, who has ever cared in all their blessed day about little Brooklyn Beckham? I mean, I know that he had like some kind of like rocky times and he wants to be this big photographer. And so like in relation to his parents, I'm sure there was a story or two about him. But this drama with him and his wife and his family, and yet, again, nothing new is being put out there is wild to me. Is it just a slow news cycle? I don't know. But I do want to say that some of his choices that he's making are so wild to me. And I feel like this guy is so dominated by the women in his life. I just would love for his dad to take him aside and be like, okay, how can we help you be a man? How can we help you get out from under the influence of all these women in your life? Not that you shouldn't be influenced by your mom and your wife in positive ways. I'm not saying you shouldn't love the women in your life, but the domination of his entire being. And I'm talking about the fact that, like we have discussed in previous times, the tattoos on his body are a reflection of his inability to understand that he is an individual and he doesn't have to live under the ruling hand of all these women. We know, as we discussed before, about the tattoo he had on his chest that said, Mama's Boy. That is so unbelievably humiliating that he would take the time out of his day to have tattooed into his skin that he is in a relationship with a domineering mother. I mean, the stuff horror movies are made out of. Anyway, Mama's Boy decided that he now wanted to be Wifey's boy, and he had that tattoo covered up by what I initially thought was like some roses. No. I got that story way wrong. That is a picture of his wife's wedding bouquet that he slapped over the Mama's Boy. You can still see Mama's Boy, but his wife's bouquet is now tattooed on his chest. Guys, what is that? Because here's the thing. I love the idea of a man being sensitive to his wife's desire that he leave and cleave. He's with her now. And if he had some kind of relationship with his mom, which was very domineering, and he was always doing everything she said, that's fine. But it also feels like he's putting himself under the dominion of his mom. Like his mom never marched him into the tattoo parlor and was like, I want Mama's Boy tattooed on his chest. Boy, lie down. I don't understand using your own body to make the people in your life okay with you. Like, aren't tattoos usually things that you get because they're meaningful to you? It feels like his body is a battleground. So anyway, Mama's Boy is covered up by the bouquet of his wife's wedding flowers. Okay, weird as all get out. I don't know one guy in this entire world who's like, you know what I'd really like? I'd really like to get my wife's bouquet of wedding flowers tattooed onto my body. That sounds like something I would really like. It's a very feminine thing to do. And not that if he just like really was into the flowers at their wedding, interesting, but I've literally never heard of anybody doing this before. Now, that doesn't necessarily make it wrong. There's lots of things out there that individuals do. There's nothing morally wrong with him doing it. I'm just like, the motivation behind it seems wild. But then, to continue on with what is he doing and why is he doing it? he decided to have this note that his wife had written him tattooed onto his back. Now, in order to understand how weird this really is, let's read the note. Okay, this is a note that his wife gave to him prior to their wedding. And he has taken a picture of himself standing there, baseball cap on backwards, but exposing his back. And down his back, he has had this tattooed. Read this anytime you feel anxious. I want you to know how deeply loved you are. You have the kindest heart I've ever met, and I hope I never go a day without your love. I think you are so incredible. Just know we can get through it all together if you breathe slow and trust. Read this anytime you feel anxious, says his wife, and he puts it on his back. Okay, first of all, I wish somebody would have helped her write a better love letter. But regardless, of all the things I would have tattooed on my back, how random and crazy is that to tattoo a love note anywhere on your body, anywhere you could see? You could have done it on your thigh. You could have done it on your arm. You could have even done it on your chest. On your back? Read this anytime you feel anxious. I'm sure he has every intention to do that, Nicola. I mean, what is going on here? Now, this is the thing I wonder about when it comes to this Beckham boy. His parents have a very storied love. They have had ebbs and flows, but they've been together for years, and they do really honestly seem to get each other. Like, they just seem to have accepted each other in a lot of different scenarios. And I know that there have been rumors, David has had rumors that he's cheated, and I think there's some real good evidence that he did. But the two of them seem to continue on. Now, he has been very demonstrative in his affection for Victoria, or maybe he's just trying to make her be quiet. He has given her over a dozen different engagement rings. I mean, what? That's crazy. Look at all these different rings. I don't understand why he needs to continue to give her these engagement rings. And are these like, shut up and be quiet, I didn't cheat on you rings? Or are these like true testaments of his affection? Anyway, at the end of the day, everyone knows that David and Victoria really care about each other and are really vocal about that. And that, like, they are the ones for each other. And again, you see them interact with each other. And it's like, this is a relationship of two people who understand each other's flaws, but also are, like, willing to live with it. And, like, get on, you know? So I don't know if young Beckham boy, I don't know if Brooklyn's trying to create like his own love story, and in his love story their love is being beset by people who would work against them, but you know, his love and her love are so strong that it's us against the world. I don't know if they're still caught in that juvenile narrative that so many people love, but it feels to me like all of this noise around the relationship and the struggle that they're having just to stay together because of all the forces against them, it feels very contrived. It feels very much like they're creating this because they don't have anything new to say. If your love story was so fraught by difficulties that your mom's after you and everybody is against you. I mean, Nicola hates his family and is constantly acting like they're the worst. She's publicly gone out and been like, they're so cheap. Like, that's what's really hard for me about them, because I don't understand why they're so cheap. They have money. So like, why are they so tight-fisted? You know, she's going out there saying all kinds of crazy. So I don't know if this is just him and yet one more role in which he's being dominated by somebody. And his wife, Nicola, seems to have like a lot of opinions, and she really wants him to take on all of her opinions. Sometimes I'm like, are you fighting against the world for your love, or are you fighting against your wife for your love? Because it seems like she doesn't want to get along with folks. But I just don't understand why this is like in the news constantly, but there's no new aspects to it. We just get like these weird little, and then look at this tattoo he got, and then he covered up this tattoo, and then he put this tattoo on his back. I mean, I'm talking about it. So maybe everybody else is just like me. We see the story, so we think there must be some appetite for the story out there. We keep talking about it. Maybe we're the ones creating the drama where no drama exists. I don't know. But there is a part of me that's like, Brooklyn, are you guys feeding stories to the paper so that you guys can drum up some kind of love story for yourself? I mean, like, are you just like, do you just love drama so much that you are making drama where drama does not exist? Because if there's, like I said, if there's some real big storm behind the scenes, I'm going to need a few more pieces of evidence of that. And not just like your wife thinks your parents are cheap. Your parents both came from fairly working class backgrounds. So if they aren't wanting to just throw money away all the day, I mean, maybe that's because that's not how they grew up. Nicola came from a family of big money, in which she was like the favored child, and everybody wanted, her dad specifically never wanted her to struggle for a minute of her life, and just wanted, he believed that meant that he gave her anything she ever wanted at any time. I don't think the Beckhams were like that. So I think she thinks that if you are not getting everything you want at all times from your parents, then that means there must be some kind of undying hate there. Nicola, come back to life. Come back to Earth. Come back to where the rest of us are living. Anyway, that is it for today's stories. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I always loved our little chit chats. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.